The US government has accused Yale University of illegally discriminating against white and Asian American applicants. An investigation by the Department of Justice concluded the Ivy League university had breached civil rights law in its undergraduate admissions process by favouring black and Hispanic applicants. The university has denied the accusations and says diversity is a mark of its excellence. Well, the investigation began after the Asian American Coalition for Education filed a complaint, and Swan Lee is the group's co-founder. Thanks very much for coming on the programme.
My pleasure, thank you.
So I'm guessing you welcome this latest report from the Department of Justice.
Yes, on behalf of hundreds of Asian American groups, but also it's clear that the government has sided with the majority opinion of Americans on this issue based on Gallup survey and Pew Research Center survey results for multiple years. More than 70% of Americans clearly believe race should not be a factor in college admissions, and this includes the majority of all of the racial groups. So this is definitely a very popular opinion with the grassroots Americans.
But universities like Yale say they want a diverse intake of students to reflect their populations, and that diversity is a strength.
Diversity is a strength, and it's not only achieved by race-influenced method. It's actually much better achieved by socioeconomic status-influenced approach, which is popular and supported by a lot of Americans. So using race as a factor actually covers up the socioeconomic issues, because in every racial group, it's clear there are Americans of very different socioeconomic status. So it's much more accurate to help those in need by using the socioeconomic status approach instead of the very generalized, inaccurate race approach.
I see. That's an interesting thought, but there is a slight problem with it, of course, which is that there is a huge degree of overlap, for example, between black Americans and low socioeconomic groups.
Based on the internal data from the Harvard case, actually more than 70% of the African Americans that got into Harvard are not from lower socioeconomic status families. They're actually from the upper wealthier families. So as a matter of fact, the race approach at these Ivy League colleges are helping more elite families, not the lower income African and Hispanic American families.
I see.
Based
So
on internal data
you'd like to see a separation of those two issues and a separation of that approach and a focus essentially on getting in more people from poorer backgrounds into those top universities.
I do not think those approach can actually ideally coexist, because using one will reduce the use of the other one. So the best is to get rid of the race-based approach, following 70% of Americans' opinion, and focus only on socioeconomic status approach. This is the best way to deliver the best education for working-class American children, and to make sure lower-income students are actually helped by these considerations.
Fascinating to get your thoughts on this. I should just add, of course, as I mentioned right at the beginning, that Yale has dismissed these accusations as baseless, but really good to get your side of these events. Swan Lee, thanks very much for coming on the programme.
Thank you so much.